In the words of the great Kurt Angle, oh, it's true. It's most definitely true. Yep. It most definitely goes down in the DMs. Now, before your mind sinks to the most lowest gutter level that you can think of, I, DK Walker, had the most productive exchange, if you will, in my DMs. An author jumped in my DMs and we had a great conversation. If you want to improve your productivity, I'm going to give you privy to exactly what that conversation entailed and what I took away from it and how I grew as a literary success consultant. Make sure you stay tuned. Let's go.
NL Publishing Service Academy proudly presents Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast with literary success consultant DK Walker. Sharing with you writing tips, marketing ideas, publishing information, and inspiring interviews for your author journey. So, without further ado, let's get right into it with DK Walker.
Hey, how's it going? I'm DK Walker, and this is Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast. Man, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you are choosing to spend your time with your boy, and for that, I am eternally grateful. I'm so humbled. Look, before we get into today's episode, we got to pay bills off the bat. If you are a struggling author and you're having problems going from book idea to actually creating your book, I got the perfect thing for you, the absolute perfect thing for you. And what I get asked a lot is this thing for pantsers. That's for people that sit in the seat and they just freestyle they get an idea and they just sit down and start typing, to people that are planners. Now, planners outline their entire book. The Unfair Writing Advantage serves both types of authors. If you have your pantser and you want to just go off the top of your head, what happens is your creativity is all over the place. It has no direction, so therefore it takes you longer to get where you're going to when it comes to writing your book. If you're a planner, sometimes you will plan. You get bogged down in the minute details of your book. The Unfair Writing Advantage serves pantser and planner perfectly.
Hello, my name is Britt Kuhn and I just love DK Walker's The Unfair Writing Advantage. I am now well on my way to writing my second book because of his advice, wisdom, tips and tricks like mind blown at how simple and easy it really, really is. I am forever grateful our paths crossed, DK. You will always be one of my favorite humans. Thank you.
Learn how to write faster, conquer writer's block, and tell a story your readers will love. In less than 1 month, writing only 3 pages daily, you can go from book idea to manuscript using the Unfair Writing Advantage. Most authors take 8 months on average to write just 1 book. But in a fraction of that time, you will learn how to craft a book your readers will love and not be hunched over your laptop days on end to do so. Just go to www.theunfairwritingadvantage.com to see what has the self-publishing industry buzzing. Now back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. Shout out to my man, Yo Gotti. You probably haven't heard of him if you're not a young hip hop head. I'm really not either. To be honest, I just had to ask Alexa who sung the song It Goes Down in the DMs. And if you're wondering why I'm starting off the podcast about Yo Gotti and It Goes Down in the DMs, because this podcast, Author Accountability, was inspired by me. No, it wasn't me. She jumped in my DMs, but it's not what you think. She had sent me something to take a look at, and we had a conversation about it. She's an author. She wanted my 2 cents on this subject, but me being me, I overly give, and maybe so much so. With that being said, I'm going to share with you the conversations that we had in the DM. And in retrospect, I guess the reason that I'm sharing with my listening audience today, I could have at that time, I could have given more precise information, more precise advice. I didn't. It was once you hear the back and forth exchange that I'm going to read to you, it happened on TikTok. And speaking of me being on TikTok, I'm standing strong at 600 something followers, right? You need 1,000 to go live. You need 1,000 to share your links. So if you hear this, if you hear the sound of my voice, if you listen to this podcast and you're on TikTok, I just need 300 some change to get 1,000 so I can share my link and go live. So let me plug that right quick. Do your boy a favor, meaning me, and go hit the link in the show notes and follow me on TikTok. So yeah, do me a favor. Go follow me on TikTok. I am at 600 and some change. I'm trying to get 1,000 so I can share with you link and go live. So if you are on TikTok, please, I need to get over 300. I want to do it sooner rather than later. But anyway, back to the author that jumped into my DMs. We had a great conversation, and then the conversation came to a close, and I wanted to help. So I asked, I'm going to read you this, and then we'll get into the advice that I could have definitely been more precise with. And that advice because I'm going to tag her in this, and hopefully she agrees to it, I'll have her on a future show. So long story longer, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read it, tag her in it, let her know that it's coming, and then hopefully have her on the show once her book hits, or she has something that she wants to share, or we can have a continuation of this conversation. So this is it. We bring the conversation to a close, which I was giving her advice about. And then I asked, can I ask you a question? She says, sure. I says, you still working on your first book, and for how long? She says, partially. My goal is to have the editing done by the end of the month. It's a collection of short stories. I said, okay, here's the best advice I will give you. She says, I'm working on another project. It's an epic fantasy novel. I don't see being finished and ready to publish till maybe 2024, maybe end of 2023. World building is a pain, LOL. I agree, I said. But let me give you a writer hack that can be used for a life hack as well. Nothing gets done without a date. So definitively write a date down and post it throughout your house and on your car steering wheel if you drive. Once you have a date, now you have an exact time when your book will be published. No matter how daunting world building may be, without a date, you would create worlds forever like Inception. I had to plug that's one of my favorite movies. I went on to say, keep me posted on how it goes. She replies, dates can be adjusted though. When we set dates in the workplace, it gives a level of expectation, but depending on the severity of a situation, that date can get pushed back. Then the purpose and effect of that date decreases. What do we do then when a fulfillment on the date could not be realized? I replied, and that is the magic in accountability. Either you accomplish what you set out to do, or you have to look in the mirror and share the truth between you, yourself, and I. If you have forever, you'll take forever. If you have a set time, you dramatically increase the chances for accomplishing your goals. She says, so you are saying that there will never be situations beyond our control that requires dates to be adjusted. Of course, for me, it's grave illness or death. And before I get back to reading this, I am a bit anal when it comes to, I got a date, I'm going to make this date come hell or high water. The only thing that will stop me from making this date is somebody that I know, love, and care for is gravely ill or they died. Okay, cool, not a problem. And in retrospect, that works for me and may not work for others. And that's another reason why I'm bringing you this podcast today. I went on to state, if it's neither of those, then why would I stop? Life is going to happen either for you or to you, and you have full control over that. She replies, got you. So it's subjective. I get the spirit of keeping to a date, but I also do not allow myself to be subject to discouragement of something beyond my control that didn't allow me to publish. Like right now, it's on my editor to get my stuff back to me to fix and then back to him again so that way I can publish. That's outside of my control. I have to wait on him. I replied, but you factor in the editing process. Didn't say the date had to be yesterday, LOL. You logically factor in a time frame for completion of all needed aspects of your author journey. She said, my date was December 15th and now it's pushed back because of editing. So dates for me will be flexible to keep my mind from exploding. LOL. I replied, I get it, hun. And I know you will have your book in hand soon enough. This convo alone could have been a great podcast episode. I'm always creating, people. I promise you. I'm always creating, always thinking forward, right? I went on to write the pros and cons of author accountability, which is the name of this podcast. And then she wrote back, but thanks for your insight. I know someone who thinks like you do as well, and it works for them. And that was it. We stopped from that point forward. We drew a line in the sand, and I guess without saying so, we agreed to disagree.
Hello, my name is Britt Kuhn, author of Radiant. I am so over the moon excited that I am holding my book in my hands. And it is all thanks to DK Walker at NL Publishing Services. I promise you, I did not know how to write a book, yet here it is. Your guidance and direction during this entire process and your ability to handle my indecisiveness has been such a blessing. I am so grateful for you, and I will forever sing your praises. Thank you so much for being you, and I can't wait to work on the next one.
Writing your manuscript has been hard enough, so let NL Publishing Service Academy make self-publishing your book easy as possible. From beautifully designed full and ebook covers to uniquely done typesetting and formatting, our goal is to professionally enhance your manuscripts and book covers to give your readers the best reading experience possible. Need marketing tips, tactics, and strategies? We can help you with that. How about branding and broadening the reach of your author platform? Yep, we can help you with that too. So no matter what your self-publishing needs are, NL Publishing Service Academy has you covered. Just head over to www.nlpublishingservices.com for whatever your self-publishing needs are. And now back to the podcast.
And pardon me, I don't believe earlier I gave the name of the young lady that I was having a conversation with in the DMs. Her name is April the Writer. She's on TikTok as well. So as you do your boy a favor and go follow me, once again, my link is going to be in the bio and her link as well. Go follow her too. She's a wonderful, from what I gather, wonderful up and coming writer. So give her all the support that you can, and definitely give me all the support because I'm trying to get live so I can get that link and go live on TikTok. But in retrospect of that conversation that went down in the DMs, and the advice I should have given, I believe that I was on the right course, but once again, I'm anal, and pun intended, I need to loosen up a bit. And true, allow for flexibility because things happen, but I still have a firm date in place to make sure that I reach my book publishing goals. So here's my advice to April the Writer on TikTok and any other author that gives a broad date. Like when you just give like the end of the year, right? That means you have all that time to accomplish what you said you was going to accomplish. Look at it this way. When you was a kid, or in my case, let me be specific. When I was a kid and my room was like filthy McNasty, and my mother would come in the room and she would turn up her nose because it stank and had food and all this. I was just a terrible kid. You know how kids eat, don't finish the sandwich, and next thing you're underneath the bed. True, too much information. TMI. It's all right. I love you, and I'm going to give you that. My mother would, of course, say some very colorful language and told me that I had 10 minutes to clean up this room or she was going to literally break my neck. Guess what? I had a definitive time. She said 10 minutes. If 10 minutes I did not have my room clean, I knew what was going to happen. Physical pain. It's safe to say that I had my room clean in 9.5 minutes, and she was like, oh, okay, cool. You're capable. So looking at holding your date, right? There has to be a consequence of what do I lose? What do I lose? You know, before I give into exactly what you should be doing date-wise into helping you not be overwhelmed as you go through your self-publishing journey, what is the consequences of you not holding on to that date within reason? Like, tell yourself, what is it that you're willing to donate, give up, sacrifice because you didn't do what you said you was going to do? And once you got something hanging over your head by, oh, well, I just didn't make the date, then I promise you, 9 times out of 10, unless somebody's sick or dying, you're going to make the date. Bottom line, flat out. Like I said, I'm anal. Let me loosen up. This is what I should have shared with April the Writer on TikTok. You should have dates for your first draft, your second draft, a date to get it back from your editor, a date from that point for rewrites and return to editor. You should also have a date for another round of your last rewrites from your editor. Also a date to take a break from your project. Once you go through the editing process, you need to take a break because you're like a moth, you're too close to the flame. And so what happens is it's too much pressure. You're feeling overwhelmed because you're constantly in creativity. And I don't want to use the word perfection mode, but you don't want to put your book out that it has typos, plot holes, anything else that will make most authors' skin crawl. So you, with a fine tooth comb and the largest magnifying glass that you can find, is looking for these mistakes, and you have enlisted the help of hopefully a good editor to help you find these mistakes. Your brain is running 1,000 miles an hour at this point in time. Give yourself a date to take a break. And this should be also incorporated into your writing. There's a date that I'm going to take a break, and it's going to be once I get it back, the last thing back from the editor, I'm going to take a week off. I'm not going to touch my laptop. I do know that much. I'm not that hell-bent on dates that I don't get that. If you don't, you won't see your project through because you're too close to it. So give yourself a week off, and like I'm a step away. Once back from that week off, give yourself a final date when you do a read aloud to catch all the mistakes that the editor and you yourself have missed. Now, if you don't know what a read aloud is, a read aloud is exactly what it sounds like. A read aloud is when you're reading your book aloud. And the reason that you need, and it's a must that you read your book aloud, is when you read it to yourself, subconsciously you're going to fill in any missing words, and you're going to correct any mistakes that's there because you know what's supposed to be there. You know what it's supposed to sound like. You know how it's supposed to go in your mind. And then, so you're reading to yourself, you will automatically make those corrections. When you do a read aloud, you get to hear those mistakes. You get to hear how things are not adding up. You get to hear how the plot could be strengthened in this area. You get to hear it. And once you hear it, now you're conscious of it, and being conscious of it, now you can make the needed corrections and changes. Once that's done, you are done with the editing process. If you want to take another break, you should. The finish line is in sight, people. The finish line is in sight, my self-publishing author friends. The next date is when your cover is completed. Now, just like the editing process, unless your graphic designer listens to you and get exactly what you want your cover to look like on the first go, there's going to be some back and forth, so you have to allot time for that as well. And the final date is for any interior work to your book to be done that's not editing, i.e., typesetting and formatting. Once again, if you're working with an outside professional that does that, type of work for you, you also want to give some leeway with that as well. So therefore, you give them time, and you should also vet. You should definitely vet anybody that's doing outside work on your project. Vet your editor, vet your graphic designer, and vet the person that's doing the interior work as well. And the reason that you vet them, when you have these dates, by checking with their testimonials, you'll see, are they good enough to hold on to their date? Do they have a consistent pattern of getting their clients' projects back to them in a timely fashion? Therefore, there's a stronger possibility that you can hold on to your date. You're probably thinking to yourself, DK, this is a rack of dates. This is too many dates. It's overwhelming. It's not. Look, the reason for the dates, it stops the overwhelm of the writing process. It stops the overwhelm of the self-publishing process. And here's how. Because you know where you're at as you're moving along. A lot of authors feel so overwhelmed because they don't know exactly where they're at and what should they be doing and when they should be expecting their files back. If you systematically have these multitude of dates, it becomes a timeline. Okay, I got the second draft back from the editor. I'm doing my rewrites at this point, and then you don't have to wait until the editing process. You should also have another timeline back for your graphic design. You don't have to wait. Of course, I take that back. You have to wait when you get because they're doing a full book, full book cover design. Then of course you have to get your final page back. That's the only way that you can create an accurate spine for the graphic designer. Want your exact page count number, but you can still get the front of the cover done. So you should be getting the cover done as you're doing the editing. And then once the final edits are done and you're good with that, then you will send it to the person that's going to do your typesetting and formatting. But you'll know where you at throughout the whole process. In doing so, you won't feel as though I have so much to do, because you'll know exactly what you're doing. So to you, April the Writer on TikTok, thank you for the beautiful, insightful conversation. Thank you for helping me to flesh out my answer more. I look forward to having you on my podcast soon. For anybody, before I get out of here, anybody that got any value from the podcast, do me a favor. Don't be selfish with the information. Share it with a fellow self-publishing author, because we are a community and we all want to succeed. Second thing, if you happen to listen to my podcast on Apple Podcasts, do me a favor. Leave me a review. I would be greatly appreciated and forever indebted to you for leaving that review. Once again, I had a blast. Thank you so much to my listeners. Thank you to April the Writer on TikTok. Go follow her. Go follow me. Both our doggone links will definitely be in the show notes. Peace.
This episode of Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast has ended. But please be sure to subscribe for more literary strategies and tactics to help you create the profitable, successful author career you've always wanted. And don't forget to rate and leave a review so we can continue to bring you the best author and book-related content. See you on the next episode.